Hello and welcome to Practical Knife Reviews. Today we're going to be looking at the Marbles D2 Lockback knife MR432. So we'll take a closer look at the fit and finish when we go inside, but I can tell you overall fit and finish is quite good other than the centering, which is off to the pile side of the knife. As you can see, it should be like that, but it's like that. But not touching any liners or anything like that, and the rest is really nice in terms of the finish. But the reason why this knife stands out, it has a D2 steel blade, so D2 tool steel, a steel that you rarely see on knives for less than $50. You've got a micarta cover on the handle, so you can see black, I think that's black canvas micarta, brass pins, nickel silver bolsters, and $12.99. Now, D2 steel is it's a tool steel that holds its edge for a very long time. Toughness is, when it's heat treated correctly, isn't as high as some of the more simple carbon steels, but edge holding on D2 typically is quite good. Though I'll mention that when I was sharpening this one, I have sharpened it a few times, it sharpens much easier than I would expect D2, or than you would hope that D2 would sharpen. So I'm wondering how hard this is actually heat treated to. So if anybody that's watching has the ability to do Rockwell hardness testing, I know the odds of that are pretty low, but get this knife and test the hardness. I'm very curious of how hard this D2 is treated to, because it sharpens way easier than it really should. In any case, let's see how sharp we are. Well, we are sharp. By the way, Ma, the number's ticking up this time?
Yep, we are a go.
Good. Okay, so this is sharp. I'll mention the pull is quite easy. The lock, it doesn't have the sharpest snap into the lock position, but it does snap. No side-to-side play, no up and down play. It's quite secure, and the lockback is not that hard to disengage. So this is a good thing for Mom.
Love that knife.
Yep, now let's check it on cardboard in case this is what you're everyday carrying. Super easy through the cardboard. I mean, no resistance at all, really. It's got a hollow grind on it, which is going to contribute to why it's so slicey. Anyway, let's see how we do on apple peeling, a typical everyday task. Now the handle's a little bit small, so it's not quite that easy to find a good position to do a reverse grip in, because if you want to grab it down here, you're a little bit far away from the blades, but if you want to choke up, you've got the point of the handle hitting you right in the palm so that you can't really get up on it. But let's see what we can do despite the size of the handle being a little bit of an impediment here. So while I'm figuring out how I want to hold this thing, that seems like it's okay. I'll just mention D2 tool steel is not a stainless steel. A lot of people consider it to be a semi-stainless steel. The reason for that is because there's a fair amount of chromium in it, which is what makes a stainless steel stainless, but not quite the amount that's required to be technically considered a stainless steel. Off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, it has to be, what is it, 16% chromium to be considered a stainless steel, whereas D2 I think is 13%. So it's not going to rust as easy as your carbon steels, but it's not technically a stainless steel. Anyway, despite the fact that the grip really is awkward in the reverse grip, it peeled the apple really well. In case you couldn't tell by looking, let me put that there. Let's see how we do on wood now. So flying colors on the first couple tests so far. This is pine. This is a softwood. Very little effort. I mean, almost none whatsoever. Just a matter of getting the angle. Again, the small handle doesn't make it the easiest for indexing when you really want to squeeze tight, but it's okay. And while I'm at it, shout out to William at William's Knife Life. He gave me a shout out and Mom a shout out in one of his recent videos, and this is a knife that he's reviewed on his channel. And he did a good review on it. So if you're not a subscriber of William's Knife Life, check out his channel. He does a review of this knife as well, and he seems to like it quite a bit. And thanks for the shout out, William. Anyway, yeah, the grip for me is a little bit short. You can see the end of the tang, or of the handle rather, is hitting me right in the pinky. So when I'm squeezing tight, it's getting me right there. But these are okay feathers. Can do a little bit of pine. Those are pretty decent feathers for pine in the fire pit. And the lock, I should mention once again, just to reiterate the point, is quite secure. I have no real fear. Where did I put that? Oh, there it is. I have no real fear that the lock is going to fail under any sort of normal usage. Now this is red oak. This is the hardest wood in our forest, as I say every time. Ah, I forgot the obligatory mention. I'm a terrible apple peeler, but it went all right anyway. And this is where having a little handle is not quite that nice, because it's just hard to hold on to when you're really bearing down. But the edge is sharp. It's a little bit tough to hold on to here. I can't really get long pushes, but I mean, those are okay feathers. Let's try another face just for the sake of it. Sometimes the orientation of the grain makes it either easier or harder on a different face, so it's worth trying 2 different faces. That plane is loud. Those are okay feathers. You'd definitely be able to start a fire with that. That's pine. But here's the oak feathers. So I think that's it for the testing. Like I said, let's just see the sharpness now after cutting a little bit of wood. It really shouldn't have dulled after cutting wood, and it hasn't. A little bit of roughness at the tip, but that might have already been there. I'll touch that up later. In any case, like I said, D2, if heat treated right, should hold an edge for a very, very long time. It's really one of the better edge holding steels that isn't like a super steel, powder metallurgy steel. But I've got this, and I've got a couple other of the, I've got the Trapper and the Sow Belly and the D2 marbles line. And all of them, when I've sharpened them, I've noticed the D2 sharpens much easier than D2 should. So, if any of you have the ability to see how hard that D2 is hardened to, report back. I want to hear about it. If it's hardened adequately, this is a heck of a deal. $13 for D2 steel and micarta. You're not going to find D2 anywhere else for anywhere near that price, but I do have, you know, let's not say a concern, but slight curiosity as to whether or not that was actually hardened adequately or not. Ma, what do you think of this knife before we go in and look at the specs?
I love this knife. It meets all my categories. It's a bright, shiny object. It's polished. It's two-tone, which I like the nameplate.
Yeah, and we've got a little shield there, D2.
Yeah, I like the shield, and then I like that the, what do you call these things?
Bolsters.
The bolsters are a slightly different color than the blade, which is, again, is a polished, shiny object. So
yeah, this is mirror polished D2.
And
bird go.
It
and these
opens
are nickel
easy,
silver.
it closes easy, it's small, and the handle, and the whatever that handle material is,
micarta, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a snake skin, and it's really a pretty knife.
They do have, and it's polished. It's not textured or anything like that, but it's not slippery. And if you get it wet, well, if it wasn't on camera, I would spit on it to show, but it actually gets a little bit, the way that they have it, it gets a little bit more tacky when it's wet.
Yeah, that.
But I'm not going to spit on camera for you. That's just gross. So, yeah, all right. We'll take it inside, we'll measure it and stuff like that, and then we'll have Mom give her final thoughts on the knife. We're back on Practical Knife Reviews, looking at the Marbles D2 Lockback. Let's see, right there. You can see that mirror polish. MR432, China. So yeah, we've got a clip point blade with a swedge, match striker pull, kind of a long pull for such a short clip point blade. Nickel silver bolsters, brass pins, or actually nickel silver pins, sorry. Nickel silver shield, and you can see, let's get that into the frame. Right there. Marbles D2 steel. And yeah, as we said outside, D2 tool steel, black canvas micarta handles. The materials that you have on this, you're not going to find any better materials for a $12.99 knife. My one concern is how hard the blade is heat treated to, because of how easy the 3 knives in the series that I have are to sharpen. D2 is a notoriously tough steel to sharpen. And these, well, they sharpened and reprofiled really easily. So I do want to hear, and I've looked all over to see if anybody has tested the Rockwell hardness of the D2 steel that Marbles is using, and I have not seen anyone come back with anything in that regard. So I'd be curious if anybody was able to find that kind of information. But let's take some measurements, and Mom, you can talk about this knife. You've been carrying it in your pocket. So yeah, I'll let you do the talking while I do the measuring. Oops,
I
my
love
cord
this
is
knife
here.
because it's a bright, shiny object. I could wear it as a piece of jewelry around my neck. Closed, of course. And I like the two-tone, the nickel silver.
So we're right at about 3.5, maybe 3 3/8 inches long, closed, and we're at 6 inches total when it's opened. A blade length of about 2 5/8 with a cutting length of 2 1/4 inches. Anyway, Ma, you can continue while I get the scale out.
So it's small enough to think I lost it when we just got back from our walk and I couldn't find it in my pocket because I took it out, set it down. And it's easy to open and close, which is a feature I need. And I actually like single blade knives like this.
Let's see, we should be able to see the numbers here. So we're looking at 76 grams, which is 2.7 ounces. It's a pretty lightweight knife. Not necessarily for its size, lightweight. I mean, it has weight for its size, but it's lightweight overall. Now let's take a quick look at the fit and finish, since I mentioned outside that we would. These scuffs that are on there were not there when it came in. That's stuff that I've done to it. So disregard any blemishes on the steel that you see. But you can see transitions here are smooth. No gaps between the micarta and the bolsters. No gaps at all. Let's look in the back. No gapping. None whatsoever. Brass liners, I forgot to mention. No gapping whatsoever. Maybe the hint of a gap here, but I mean, that is an absolute nitpick. There's no catch here where the lock bar is. And yeah, the only fit and finish issue is that this is not centered. If it was right there, it would be an absolutely perfect knife in terms of fit and finish. With that, one flaw. No flaw. One flaw. That's it. Everything else is absolutely stunning on this knife. And for $12.99, I mean, what the heck? You're not going to find anything better than that. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty... Let me know. I'm going to keep reiterating it. Somebody let me know how hard this is hardened, because if it's hardened adequately, buy as many of these as you can, because you're not going to be able to find D2 steel for any less than $40, $45 from just about anywhere else, especially with nice micarta like that. It looks nice. But the whole series is in this price range between $12 and, I don't know, $17 or so. And yeah, if it's hardened well enough, get them all. If it's inadequately hardened, well, it'll look nice then, but you know, I do want to know that. So any final thoughts, Ma, before we wrap this episode up?
Nope, this is my jewelry quality knife.
Well, I think that just about says it. It's Mom approved. So that'll be it for this episode of Practical Knife Reviews. Again, shout out to William from William's Knife Life. Thanks for the shout out, buddy. And everyone take care. We'll see you real soon with another episode of Practical Knife Reviews.